to RugbyWorks Talks. It's absolute pleasure to be here again with another guest on our podcast. And this week I am delighted to welcome Phoebe Andrews, who is not only a phenomenal rugby player, she's a real advocate around issues of mental health. So gives me great pleasure to welcome you, Phoebe.
Oh, thank you. It's an honour to be here, really, to be on the podcast. I think it's I've been looking through it and like following the Instagram pages, and it's a real advocate for people that are struggling with a lot of stuff, and I can relate to that.
Brilliant. Why don't you start off by just giving us the ill-informed listener an overview of your rugby career so far, because it's pretty impressive.
So I started playing when I was 12. At secondary school. I did all kinds of sports to get me out of lessons and in environments I didn't like. So I just did any sport, no matter what it was. And both my parents played, and all my uncles and aunties, my mum and dad met through a rugby club, and it's kind of in the blood, but I didn't play it until I was 12. And then as soon as I picked up the ball, like I was like obsessed, like my brain just clicked, and I played for the girls team, and then I managed to play for the boys team until you were allowed to, and then we relocated from Hertfordshire to up near Rutland, and that kicked off. I think I got invited to Leicestershire trials for under 15s, and then from there it's been county, Midlands, then to TDG, and then just recently now after COVID and everything, just got my first Premiership debut, and yeah, so it's been a whirlwind of rugby, really.
Tell me about that Premiership debut.
Oh, so it was probably the most horrible day to play rugby. It was against Wasps, and it was the January game after Christmas, and I'd only just been brought in because I'd taken a break from rugby for my mental health and stuff, because I couldn't really deal with the pressures, and I was just starting to find my feet, and I was at Loughborough Town, and I've known Reece for a long time because I went to college at Loughborough, so I went there, and then I kind of came back in pre-season, kind of end of pre-season, being like, I'm back, like I'm just here because I want to play rugby because I love it, I don't want anything to do with it. And then I got pulled in. I wasn't quite sure. He was like, you might get some game time, you might not, we're not really sure, because obviously we weren't expecting you, and we've already got our Premiership players, and yeah, it was horrible. I got on, and I knew I was going on, I didn't know when I was going on, and I didn't know how long for, but I got on, and my whole basically the whole county had come to watch me from home, and I thought, God, I'm sat on the sidelines, and I'm like, oh my God, what if I don't even get on? People have tried, like, I mean, the whole, like, there was more people, I think, like just a fan club for me than Lightning in general. It was just like all family. And I managed to get on, and yeah, it was a first taste of Premiership rugby. I remember I caught a ball from kick-off, and the winger just absolutely took me out, and I was like, right, that's it. I'm here, I'm in Prem rugby, and then managed to score on debut. So that was quite crazy as well. And then, yeah, since that I've just worked like tirelessly so hard, because I found the love back for it again, and how much I love being around such great people in the sport, really.
What do you think? You talked about getting involved when you were 12. What do you think rugby's given you?
When I really suffered when I was younger, like getting out the house and finding friends, and coming out of my shell, because there was a lot going on in the background. It gave me something, like it gave me identity I didn't have. Like I was known for rugby where I lived. Like I was the rugby girl. Not many girls played it around here, and obviously no one had really played it in my school either. So then when I was getting into like TDG and things like that, and Midlands, it was a massive thing, and it gave me an identity when I didn't know who I was for a long time. And then I've made some of like the greatest friends I can ever imagine, for where I've been able to really open up, and like they've picked me up, especially recently where I've been at Lightning, where I've been able to open up to some of them. They've really picked me up when I hit my lows, and I think that's the most important thing, because a lot of my time I've never felt like I know where I belong, but I know I belong on a rugby pitch with people around me.
Absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's very similar to what Lawrence says when he hit a very low point in his life when his sister died on the Marchioness boat disaster, which was long before your time. But rugby gave him family, and it gave him security, and it gave him a place to be and a place he could be good at something as well.
Yeah, and like the thing was, in our family, I was a horse rider before, so I'd ridden horses from when I was 18 months old. I sat on a horse. Rugby was like the boys' thing. It was the boys. They were like crazy talented when they were younger as well, and they still are, but they play socially because they love the social life. But that was always the boys' thing, and then I then got introduced to it, and then I felt part of the family, my family. I am part of the family, but it was like, right, well, now I play it as well, and it's like a big, like, my aunties and uncles, and now I'm part of it because I'm playing it, and it just gave me so much confidence when I didn't have any confidence, because I knew at the end of the day, like, I would play as well as I can, kind of thing. So it gave me structure as well, because I knew that I'd training one day a week and then I had a game. So at least I can, if I'm having a really bad week, I can look forward to that training where I'm starting to run about and your endorphins get around, so you start to have the banter and the people, and yeah, it saved my life, really, if I'm honest.
That's it. When you think specifically about the game of rugby, because I'm interested that you were an all-round sportswoman, you played lots of different sports. Because one of the things I often talk about is that why I actually think, because I've known about sport for development, sport for good, which is what Delalio RugbyWorks does. We use rugby as a hook to get young people engaged, and then we do lots of skills building and teamwork and collaboration. One of the things I always say is that rugby is actually a pretty special sport for getting young people engaged, and it goes above and beyond some other sports. And so before I say why I think who doesn't play rugby, it's so special, what is it that you think makes the game of rugby really useful for helping people deal with challenges, anger management, anxiety, mental health, feeling lost? What is it specifically about the game?
Well, I think when you look at it, like, logically, it's 80 minutes where you're putting your body on your line. Like, you're putting your physical body on the line for 14 other people plus your bench, who you've got to put your full trust in you is going to look after you with big tackles or clearing you out or picking you back up when you've knocked a ball on, or little things like that. It gives you such a sense of family, because you really are putting everything on the line. But like, it's, for me, and like mental health and anger management, I suffer really badly with getting anger, and it's a place where you get approval for being aggressive and being yourself, and not being told to calm down, like you need to be in a quiet space, you need to take yourself away. It's actually, you're getting praised for hitting harder, or you're praised for being the aggressive one in everybody's faces. Like, that kind of anger management is really helped me, and I've seen a lot of people that it's helped through, like, socially and through people that live in my area and stuff. Like, it's given people also a safe space to talk, because after you've gone out and you've played for 80 minutes of rugby socially, and then go and have a pint, or you go and you spend then the evening together, like, it gets people to come out their shells. And because you train so much, people can notice when you're not okay, or when you're feeling down. Or with me, like, if I'm having a massive high and people need to go, you okay, like, do we need to just take a walk, take time? And I have always thought of it as, it gives you a sense of family if you don't feel like you have a family, because it's all, everyone's there for you no matter what.
That's so true. And it's also a game that I think that legitimizes the way that you choose to manage your anger, exactly as you said, because it gives you an outlet for feeling really, angry. But equally, it's a game with incredible discipline and incredible respect. But I think perhaps not every team sport does have in the same way. So I think there's those sort of aspects to it as well. But actually thinking more broadly about the game, who do you idolise? Who are your heroes? Who's your role models?
I don't want to say it because I play with her, but Emily Scarrett, for one of them, she's been my idol. Just like the way that she is, like she's the world's best player, like at times, but she's so like humble, and you can go up to her about anything, like, and have a general chat, and it's just so lovely, like that way. And Hannah Bottoman as well. So I've known Bots for a long time. I grew up with her. My parents played with her parents. It was just that kind of thing. But the way she plays, but also the way that when I've come to watch her, or the way she's with fans, like how lovely she is about having a chat and making people feel involved, and like always coming up to me if I've come to watch it, and like she's involved with like my rugby career and things like that. It's those little things. But then some are like the actual like greats of front row players or back row players, where they just put everything, no matter what they do, into it, and you can just tell it's their life. And like Michael Hooper, Richie McCaw, like those real greats that had something special, but they're also so dedicated at the same time.
Yeah. So you've got 6 people you're inviting around for your dinner, your rugby dinner.
Yeah, I'm trying to rugby
friends. You've
got
4 of your rugby dinner.
Yeah, I need. How many more?
Who else do you have? You've got 2 more guests to bring round. You can pick their brains. You can ask them questions. A little bit of advice. They can be, from back in the day. They can be from current players. That perfect kicking tip, whatever it is. What would you? Who else is coming to your perfect rugby lunch?
Jack Willis, sorry, because I just think he's absolutely class. Like I'm a secret Wasps fan and have been since I was little. So like watching him play and then come up England wise, like I just would love to pick his brain and how he does what he does so well. And then I think you've got to have a conversation with Johnny Wilkinson. Like he is the GOAT of all time, and he, like, when you think about it, he just to know what he did to stay on top of his game for so long.
Absolutely. So you want to know what he did? You wouldn't be asking about that goal then, that kick.
No, I wouldn't be asked that, because I can imagine he would have practiced for months and like drop goals and stuff. So I know that would have got into it. It's more the fact of how did he stay so good for so long.
Okay, well, if you're listening, Johnny, let us know. Drop us a line. Oh dear. So at the moment, rugby's in a difficult place financially. You mentioned the beloved Wasps and what's happened there. Do you think about that, or do you just concentrate on the game, or does that impinge into the dressing room talk? What's happening behind the scenes? What are they saying at Lightning? So
I don't know how much, obviously, I can disclose, because they're still having talks of contracts and stuff. I work full time. I work, and I love my job. I work with ex-race horses that we breed from, basically, and I work 7 days a week. I work from all hours of the day, and I love that. So money's only there, but I'm self-employed, so that if I need to go off for training, I then take an hour out of my time, which I'm so grateful for my bosses for, because they completely understand it. They know that that's something I want to do, but they also are teaching me everything I need to know about this new job that I've started, because they see how hard I work and how much I put into it. They then, when I say, oh, look, I've really got to be at training, like there's a specific skills session I need to go to, they let me go. I think money is, if I had make a wish, one wish, it would be that we had all the money in the world, because I'd love to train full time, but it's just not realistic. So if the club can help with pay for your fuel, then it's like it's not costing me to play anything, because then I'm not wasting my wage. So like if my wages only, it's not massive amounts in the horse world, unfortunately. It's not massive amounts, but I always, with my mental health, I've got to find something I love doing, otherwise I then can't do it. So I would rather take a pay cut than do something I don't love and sit in an office where I can't sit still and I can't write emails. So I'd rather be that. And yeah, financially it's been a struggle. It has been a struggle. Like, I've really not had a lot of money left because I've been independent, and as much as my parents will support anything and everything, I don't like that idea. I never really have. Even since I was little, I was working at like a livery when I was like 10, horse livery, and getting my own money. Like, I just always have wanted to do everything on my own. And yet there is starting money to become in, which is a good thing. And I think the new league that's setting up as well, I think that's going to bring in a lot more. And it's a slow game, but I think it will pay off in the end. Well, I'm hoping so, because I would like some money. The amount of time and effort you put in, it's just like training 3 times a week, playing once a week. It's difficult to do a full-time job and be in a semi-professional league.
Yeah, and we do want our clubs to survive.
Yeah, we do.
Go to the wall.
Yeah.
So I mean, I'm interested in the impact that sort of the news about clubs going to the wall has on players, because I do think it adds to the general anxiety, and particularly when you're looking at women's rugby, where actually the professional game is still emerging.
Yeah, it's still emerging, and we're losing teams. And like Wasps, for instance, I mean, I know Worcester went, but they've managed to get back, which is brilliant. But like DMP, that were there for in the Premiership for ages, and you had Richmond that were in the Premiership for ages. It's like all these clubs which have established women's rugby throughout the years are slowly fading away, because it's so hard to financially fund 45 players on a salary cap, and that at the end of the day, if they're not getting paid, we've got to have normal living. Like, they're going to have to work. And then you've got people might not understand that, oh, it is professional rugby, so why aren't you getting paid? Oh, I'm the unlucky one that doesn't get paid, that's why I have to work these awkward hours. And then it's like, I am sacrificing my own work-life balance for rugby, when you never know what's going to happen, because you could get injured in a flash, or like, for instance, Wasps and other teams, they've gone. So it's just a bit of a big stress, really, at times.
Yeah, I can see that, and I think it's stressful all round, but I think it's particularly stressful in women's rugby. I've just got to ask you about, so you work in a stud farm, do you?
Yeah.
Oh, how fabulous, with these beautiful creatures.
Yeah, they are. They're so lovely. Like, they have their moments, and don't get me wrong, like, wrestling a foal when it's poorly and you've got to give it medication's not fun, and when the mare's being very protective over its foal, or you have a poorly foal, or God knows what, and it is hard work, because we want to make everything clean and like just spotlessly clean, because otherwise the foals can be more susceptible to obviously illnesses and stuff. But it's the best job in the world. How can you not? Just their little faces when they're born, and like, they'll be born when you come into work, and then 2 or 3 hours later they're stood up walking about, and they're already chatting to their mum. And they're just these little things that over 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months that I've been there, they're just growing into their own personalities and their bodies. And I love racehorses. I do. I have my own ex-racehorses, so I've always been into them, and I've worked at a race yard as well. And they're just beautiful creatures, because they're so switched on all the time, and they really pick up on how you're feeling and everything involved. And especially when you really suffer with mental health, and you can't get out of bed, or you don't feel like you wanted in this world, or worth anything, that gets me out of bed every morning, because I get to go and see those little babies' faces, and it's given me a new lease of life. Like, I can't even explain it. And family that have come up to see the foals, because we allow people to come and see them, they all go, this must be the best job in the world. Like, you get to see like nature, like from the get-go, from how a mother literally will mother it until, and it's just, yeah, just amazing.
Absolutely sounds it. And you're saying that gives you the motivation alongside rugby to be able to get out of bed and get on. What have been the sort of mental health challenges that you've experienced that have made that so difficult for you?
So when I was about 13, I started to have really bad anxiety, which then would stop me from sleeping, and then I would have psychosis, where just all kinds was going on in my brain, and I couldn't leave the house. Like, everything was going on. I was in my own world, like not even recognizing like reality, and I couldn't get out of like the house. I couldn't leave my mum. Like, it was quite a scary time for a 13-year-old. It kind of just switched in my brain. Something just brought it on, where I had been bullied at school and kind of not dealt with it, and other things as well, and it just built up, and my brain just switched one day. And then they, after a couple of years of going back and forth, where I'd be on medication that would calm me down for a bit, but then I'd be back into CAMHS every couple of months, they then started to look back at my record, and I got diagnosed at 15 with ADHD, which then makes absolute sense. So I started on ADHD medication, and that was great. It had its challenges, like with getting like TUEs, because the medication I'm on is a stimulant, so then it would stop me from playing, which was a bit annoying. But yes, the ADHD was kind of like a big point, because it was like, this is who I am now. Like, I can do my research, I can understand why my brain goes at 1,000,000 miles per hour, why I have to do everything when I want to do it, why I can't finish tasks, why I can't concentrate in school, why you find it really hard to make friends because you react rather than think. And it's all these like little things, like the what ifs. And that medication managed to be able to get me through school when I couldn't even get to school. So that was another like, oh, like this explains everything, massive weight lifted off my shoulders. But then this reoccurring, where I'd have manic moments, and then big depression episodes where I couldn't get to school, I couldn't get out of bed. It wasn't necessarily anxiety anymore, it was depression. So I then, I think it was about 18, so I'd had 3 good years. About 18, I got diagnosed with serious depressive episodes, and started on drugs then, and therapy, which was, at such a young age, was quite difficult, because you didn't really know what to do, and no one really knew how to help, because I just took myself away and isolated, and just watched the world go by from a third point of view, which was weird to explain. And then I was kind of really good.
Yeah, when you were 18 and you realised you were having sort of serious sort of depressive episodes, when you go back, if you could teleport yourself back to your 18-year-old self, what would you say to yourself? What have you learned? What would you say to yourself?
That there always is like light at the end of the tunnel, or there will be one good day if you've had 100 bad days. And that one good day is something that we'll remember, and you've got to try and keep that on repeat. And that you, even when you really can't think of, and you just completely want to give up and not exist, like it's finding your grounding, like the people, or for instance, like my horse and my family. Like, that's what got me through. It was like, I want to push on. If I can't do it for myself because I can't do it for my family, or for my horse because I couldn't leave her without a mum. Yeah, but it's just like that one good day that you might have, where you did get out of bed and you had a shower. That's a little win, and it's like, okay, well, that's one little win in 100 days. I wonder what, like, the next 100 days, maybe I can get 2 good days, and then it's like adds up till then you've got a month of whole good days, and then you're like, oh, this is great. And then it comes the next month, you've had 2 good months, and then you've had 3 good months, and then even if you start to feel you're dipping again, it's like, actually, I've just had a good 3 months. If I have a dip, I know I can pull myself out of it.
Brilliant.
So
that's how you got through from 18.
Yeah, so then around that time I'd been brought into Lightning at that age, really, when I'd just finished college and I was coming home. I didn't want to go to uni. I was done with school, done with education, done with everything. I wanted to go and work. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so kind of came home. Was going to go into the Air Force, but then went through my testing and then came to my medical, and because of my ADHD and depression and other stuff, I failed my medical, and that kind of hit me. Then I was like, so I've got to appeal it or go off my medication, which some people do, and they thrive in the Air Force. And I thought, actually, I don't want to have to go off meds that keep me stable for quite a while, and 2, I don't want to have to fight someone or something to be accepted into somewhere when they didn't accept my ADHD or depression at first. So then I just got a job as quick as I can, because Dad was like, you're 18, you're not at college, you need to start paying some rent around here, help us out and stuff. So I went and found a cleaning job at a hotel and had that while then training with Lightning. But just, I was in a training squad. I wasn't anything near the Prem team. Like, there was Lark Davis, Emily Tozy, Bryony Field, there were all these hookers. So I was just kind of there for experience. And then I got to 19 and I was fed up with this cleaning job, and a racing stables, which is just down the road from here, they were advertising for staff, and I was like, oh well, I've been mucking out horses since I was 4, so I might as well go and do that. And it's early mornings, and I don't have to do afternoons, so that I could go and train. And then it'd be every other weekend, and I went there for like a week's trial, fell in love with it, like being back around horses. And then COVID kind of hit, and I'd just been dropped by Lightning, just saying the physicality wasn't there, and I just wasn't quite there yet. But obviously COVID had hit, no rugby, and I was like, okay, what do I do now? Like, everything that I've kind of has kept me going, it's gone, like not seeing friends, family, like obviously then rugby. So I then threw myself into work, absolutely loved it there. Like, loved going to the race courses, plan up horses, like watching a horse that you'd take on yourself, and then it would come out and it would end up winning races, and some like big races as well. That was like, that's all the hard work that like everyone at the yard's been putting in, and getting a bonus like towards that as well. And then unfortunately it didn't work out with that job, so I got bullied there, because I'm a little bit different and I say it how it is, and I will speak the truth. And some people don't like that. They don't like the hard facts, and they don't like being called out, and that's part of me, that's who I am. So I was like, right, I'm moving away, I want to get out of here. I don't like the fact I'm living in my own home and in my own area, but the people that live at the yard are still going to be there and cause me problems. So I moved away, and then I really hit a serious depression, and this was about 2021, where I couldn't do anything for myself, couldn't dress, couldn't shower, couldn't eat. I was really at an all-time low, because I'd isolated myself from friends, family, moved away to a new area, moved my whole life away, and the job that I'd moved to didn't work out, that kind of business, and didn't work out. And I rang my mum one day and I went, you need to come and get me. And me and my family, my parents, because of all the issues I've had, we've always had that conversation where if I have a day where I can't do it, and it just all hits me, because it normally does. It normally all builds up, and then it, like a can of worms, basically. They would drop everything, come and get me, and I'd like lost a knife for cutting hay at work or something, which I couldn't then find, and that was it. Like, that was my tipping point. And I just rang my mum and I was like, you need to come and get me. I can't do this anymore. Like, I've been lying to you a lot. Like, I've isolated myself. I'm not feeling good. Please, can you come and get me? Because otherwise I don't know what my brain's going to do, because when I go into a stage, a part of my brain takes over, and I then have my normal self from day to day has no control, which is quite scary. So I came home, and then I got admitted into an inpatient facility and worked through all my issues there, and they were fantastic, and I was in with great people, and I was really lucky to come out of the other side. Like, from I've always been the happy, bubbly, talkative kid, to then people, the way I grew up, people then saw the life. They say that I just had nothing behind my eyes for a long time, and from 2020, like, trying to take your life was quite a scary thing. And when your brain takes over, I look back at it now, and it was like the biggest cry for help, because I didn't know any other way. I couldn't verbally speak what was wrong. I couldn't write it down. I couldn't get how I was feeling out, other than just crying constantly and just locking myself away and sleeping. And like I said, I went privately, went into a private facility, had the most amazing therapists, most amazing psychiatrists that found another diagnosis which explained a lot of things, and got me on the right medication, and got me sleeping, and got me a tablet that doesn't just last for a couple of months. It's lasted 2 years now, like, that gets me to sleep, so I have a good night's sleep. I was in that outpatient for a year, working with someone else on all the issues and everything that I've kept in the dark from a lot of people, and I started to kind of dive into trying to find myself, really. Like, who is this person that's been depressed for so long and been in therapy since she was 13, like, just trying to find who I was. And I knew it was rugby. I knew I wanted to do rugby. I knew it. Like, from I was in the inpatient facility, and we had a garden, and when I was allowed visitors after a certain amount of weeks, my dad brought a rugby ball up, and I was in the garden, like, doing my line out throwing, like, throwing the ball about, like, chasing around, kicking it. Like, that was what was bringing me joy in such a sad place, of time. And then it's kind of only been recently where I've been so up, and where, like, now I've got my own money, manic moments have taken over, and I just spend money like it grows on trees. And people are like, you don't have the money for that. I'm like, it's fine, like, it grows on trees, like, I'll get it back another day. Or, like, I say things where, like, who's going to stop me? Like, when I've, like, said something to your dad, I'm like, so what? Like, not caring about anything. And then I'll have a big chunk of, like, manic, and then I'll have a big chunk of depression. And I went to my GP and I said, look, something's not right here. It's not the ADHD. It's not the depression. This isn't just an ADHD moment. It's lasting for months. I'm really struggling. What do you think? Can you put me in help? Put me in contact with anyone? And they did. They put me in contact with a psychiatrist, and they've diagnosed me with bipolar, which there's a lot of stigma about bipolar and how difficult it is to live with.
I think the stigma is probably something aside from how difficult it is to live with, because living with bipolar is difficult.
Yeah.
You are in a constant battle with yourself, which is the hardest to be. It's one thing being in a battle with somebody else, but being in a constant battle with yourself is really tough.
Yeah, it's really tough. And I think in movies and films and TV series and theatre and stuff, you're portrayed as this crazy person that has these mood swings where they will trash everything, or then they'll be in bed and they can't get out of bed constantly, or it's like the crazy mania stages where there's actually people that live with it day to day and they get on with it and they have medication that helps, but it's a struggle. And it really is. Like, my parents at the moment, they know that I'm going through a rough stage because I've had a good couple of months of mania, and they just are like, it's it must be so exhausting, because they're like, it's exhausting for us because you don't speak. Like when you're on a down, you don't speak, you don't talk, you're not yourself. We have to walk on eggshells because we don't want to say the wrong thing, because then you get angry or you get upset, and then you'll drive off and you'll go off your own for hours, and like I want to get to the root of everything. I want an answer. I don't care about a label. I don't care about stigma. I don't genuinely care, because I want to live my life finally. I don't want to look at it from like a third point of view. I want to be able to be like, yeah, okay, I've got ADHD and bipolar, but that's me. Yeah. That's always going to be me. It's been a part of me since I was born. It's now you accept me and I accept myself, which I slowly am.
I think that's so important, and it's amazing. It made me go goosey, you saying that you're finally beginning to accept yourself, because both ADHD and bipolar are little understood. They're not widely understood, but that when you're actually having a battle with your own mind, it's the hardest thing to do, because it's, I don't want to go out. You've got to go out. I don't want to go out. You've got to go out, go out, go out. And that constant, and that's just a little example that some of us have experienced when we get into battles with our own mind.
Yeah.
Amplify that by a million, and that's what you're living with every day.
Yeah. So my therapist I've got now, she's amazing. Like the amount that she's done, especially these last 6 months, she's been incredible. And the way she explains it is, every day normal people will have ups and downs, right? They might have a bad day at work, or they might have a really good day at work, and then that's done. Then the next day, even if they've had a bad day before, they'll normally wake up and they might be a bit grouchy from yesterday, but then they normally pick up, and then it's like just a little wave. With bipolar, you have chunks of high. Like you have chunks of high. Every day is a high, no matter what. Even if something's bad happened in your day, you're buzzing about it. I can sleep for 2 hours for about 3 months and be working perfectly fine, do my job, go to rugby, see my friends, like completely be absolutely fine. But once you've had that high, you then will save up all the lows that you should have had, because it's a chemical imbalance, and it happens in another chunk, normally right after or in between. You might have a week of in between where you're a bit rough, and you don't really, I describe it as looking, someone else is living my life. That's how I'm starting to dissociate, and then you get into a deep, not necessarily a deep depression, but you suddenly are like, well, why don't I have the energy to go to the gym? Why can't I get out of bed? Why can't I eat? Like, why am I not bothered about eating? Why am I not bothered if my friends don't invite me? Why do I not have any energy to do anything other than to get at work, go up and get to work? And when I then come home from work, I then sleep for the rest of the day, because that has taken up all my energy. When a week to 2 weeks ago, when I was in a high, I was doing that on about 14 hours of sleep a week. And it's explaining that it's really difficult, but you can get on with it with the right help and medication, but also educating the people that are involved in your life, because they have to watch you go through it. And it's one of the most painful things to watch someone with bipolar go through, because you can see how exhausting it is. You can see how scary you look when you're not in control. And it's also like exhausting for them. Every 3 months I'm up, and then every 3 months I'm down, and then I'm up again, and then I'm down, and it's not a normal constant wave. And I'm so thankful for my parents, because they do research upon research upon research, and they just want to not fix the problem, because it's not a fixable problem, but they want to be able to make my life manageable so that I can live it how I want to live it, which is
that's fantastic that you've got a supportive family helping you with that.
Yeah.
How is it impacting on your rugby, your mental health?
So when I came back to Lightning this year, I pulled the head coaches and team managers. I took it upon myself, and I went, look, I'm going to be honest. I I've struggled the last years where I haven't been playing rugby, and I just want to update you on what's going on, because I was always open about my ADHD and things, and I was like, look, I want to update you about what happened last year with me being in hospital, and I am going to have days where I'm going to be great, and I'm going to be like so switched on, and I'm going to be like so coachable and ready to learn, and like just and like just wanting to be around the team and stuff. But I'm also going to have a couple of months where I might be only be able to make it to 2 training sessions a week, and I will let you know. And they've been unbelievable, like unbelievable about it. Like if I've having a bad day, I'll give them a message like, look, I'm having a bad day. Do I really need to come into training? If so, I'll make it just for the evening for the team training. So I go there, I do that, and then I come home. And some days they'll be like, no, have the day off. You've trained really well the last 2 days. We'll have a catch up on Friday, see how you are. And just like the little check-ins as well that we've had, and like coming up to me about, are you okay? And like putting me in contact with the sports psychologist that we've got there, and even like your S&Cs and your physios, just and our doctors, like just checking up when they start to notice little things where I'm not as chatty, or I'm not as wanting to ask questions, or I can't stand still, or like I'm like, come on, let's go, I want to get done, because I'm like, all my energy's going now, so let's get going, and I do everything at a million miles per hour. They know the slight change of when I'm not really speaking, I don't make eye contact. I've kind of just come into training, been quiet, and all that. They've really been good with it, and that's why I want to stay at Lightning, because I know we've not had the greatest of seasons, and we've really come together, especially the last couple of games as a team, and it's really brought me out my shell again, and I've made some really close friends, which I'm already missing them a ridiculous amount, and I can't wait till they're back from their international tours and stuff. And yeah, the coaches have been amazing. Like, I can't, when I've wanted clarity on something, or like when I need to know now, and I need to know like where you stand, and I don't like the not knowings and the what ifs. I'm terrible at them. So I've always been like, just be honest with me. I do not care if it's bad news, if it's good news, if I've not played well, I've not trained well. I want to know, because then I'm not sat at home thinking, going round and round and round. And they've been great. So yeah, it's had its impacts. For a while when I was younger, I would get dropped when I was having like bad moments, and I'd put on weight, or I hadn't fit my fitness tasks, because I hadn't been able to get myself out of bed that summer. So then would get dropped. But then when I would be back at college and training really hard, I'd get picked up, and that way it's been really difficult. But every coach that I've had, really, unless one coach, which I didn't get on, that's a different subject, like I've been so honest about, like, this is me. If you can't get to understand me, or come to some sort of level, it won't work, because I want to play for you as hard as I put all my heart into playing everything. I put everything into it. If you're not going to understand or care about my mental well-being, there's no point in me being here, because otherwise I will just leave, and I won't come back and say anything. So they've been amazing with it this season. I really can't complain with the coaches at Lightning.
That's just fantastic. And I mean, I do think that sports are getting better, with ADHD, that whole neurodiverse piece where people think and react and respond differently. But equally with mental health, I do think sport is doing its best to keep up and respond. But I think your story is really inspirational. So where do you see yourself in 5 years' time then?
Hopefully at a World Cup. I mean, I hope. I'd love to get even one cap. That would tip me off. Like, I got my under-18s shirt, and it's hung up in my dad's office. And then this season, obviously getting my first Premiership cap, and then actually I've now got 4, I think, and then also getting a try-on debut. I was like, right, okay, maybe it is time to believe in myself, and maybe it is time to put in the hard work, and seeing like people that you played with, like Sadia Kabea, Maud Muir, like seeing those girls going up into the England setup, and like Delaney, Morwenna, like all of these people, it's like, actually I was in a team with them when I was younger, so there is chance if I put the hard work in and I play with a smile on my face and enjoy it, then why not if they can.
That's where we'll see you in 5 years. World Cup, those caps.
Yeah.
Phoebe, it's been an absolute pleasure. Your honesty, your transparency, the way you recognise the challenges and how you've overcome them is genuinely inspirational. Thank you for taking the time to talk to me.
No problem. Thank you very much for having me.